Mike Leach, the head coach of Washington State football here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Coach?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. So what do I need to know about satellite camps that I might not know about the benefits and or the drawbacks of it, Coach?
Well, you covered it pretty good. I mean, what's not to like? I mean, well, I can't think of any drawbacks. You know, I can't think of any drawbacks. You know, but basically, because what it does is it gives low-income families a lot of opportunities. In our case, a lot of times we do satellite camps with like Division III schools or something like that, so you know, guys will come in for the camp, and so you know, some of them will like, some of them the other school will like and provide them an opportunity, and then some of them you know, don't end up playing college football, but they get a look. They get a look at a lot of players, and then I think a lot of opportunities are spawned from it. And you know, and I guess the saddest thing is this ban on satellite camp that limits opportunities to the student athletes, and for all our posturing and pompously parading around and pretending everything's about the student athlete, we just cut out a whole bunch of opportunities for them, and we've done it for no better reason than we're jealously, selfishly trying to guard our recruiting areas, or we're too lazy to work the camps. And then, and you got a competitive game like college football, and some schools just selfishly want to guard their recruiting area and field threaten competitively. The insecurity that this entire thing is laced with is maybe even more disturbing. How can these people be so insecure? Why are they so scared of somebody coming into their area and recruiting? I mean, I think it's crazy on a lot of levels. And then,
well, in terms of what you just said, Coach, do you have any what? I think I know what schools or what conferences there are, but do you want to put a finer point on which schools or conferences you think are spearheading this?
Well, I haven't roll called the thing. I think, you know, that they say that the SEC drove the thing. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, but it was kind of a sudden vote. It was reminiscent of you know, they. You know, and I don't know what schools are involved specifically, and you know, who drove it to such a sudden vote. I'm not sure on that. It is reminiscent of some of the backroom dealing that went on a couple years ago, where they tried to change the game clock. You know, where all of a sudden, boom, the game clock for the games has changed. Because all of a sudden we don't want to compete a particular way, and we don't like the rules, so we'll try to change them to our benefit. I mean, this is ridiculously reminiscent of that.
Mike Leach joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. What about the idea that smaller schools, that it hurt satellite camps, hurt them because they don't have the ability to perhaps travel and have a satellite camp themselves, and bigger schools can come into their backyard and take some of the recruits that are able to drive to the smaller schools? What about that idea, Coach?
Completely ridiculous. I mean, first of all, to my knowledge, smaller schools are usually invited to these satellite camps. The other thing is satellite camps are ridiculously inexpensive. It's one of the least expensive things that we do. We don't get any money for them. We go down there and we work with some other entity, you know, in the area, and all we really pay for is travel and hotel rooms. I mean, so it's ridiculously inexpensive. I think it's the type of thing that smaller schools you know, it's one of the most cost-effective ways that they can possibly get exposed to athletes.
So give me a typical resume or a typical athlete who benefits from this, who would benefit from a satellite camp that no longer would. Can you personify it in a way?
Well, I think, I mean, it's really quite broad. It kind of depends who all's at the satellite camp. So a lot of times, at the satellite camp will be a number of high school coaches' parents. Okay, then there may be a couple schools, and sometimes schools will just call or show up, and it'll be like lower division schools. So then a number of kids will come out, and the other thing, satellite camps only last a couple hours, and then they'll go out there and they'll work out, and everybody will kind of time and check out and have Pascal, and you just get to meet guys. One, you get to meet guys so you have a sense of who's coming up. Second, you get to see guys that were on your list that maybe aren't quite good enough for your school, but you can refer to somebody else or somebody else there that's a lower division school. They'll get real excited because they weren't aware of a guy. Mm-hmm. Then the other thing is the type of guys that really benefits, because recruiting is such that it starts, gets really hot your sophomore year, sometimes freshman year, and then sophomore year. If a guy's done something their sophomore year, well, everybody's aware and everybody's all over them. And then, but then somebody will have a late growth spurt and, really do something their senior year. It really helps guys like that. Then all of a sudden guys that develop late, they get some exposure, and then, and, when you consider.
Oh, just lost him right there. Do we have
about this thing? Mm-hmm. There's schools that don't need satellite camps. Because if you think about various parts of the country, take the SEC, for example.
Sure.
All the schools in the SEC are within 5 hours of each other. If I was in the SEC, I wouldn't have a satellite camp. Now, I wouldn't be so paranoid and non-competitive that I'd be against them. I'd still be in favor of them. But every school in that, they're all within 5 hours. And so kids will drive to your campus if they're only 5 hours away. So the best thing is to have the players come to your campus.
Sure.
So there's no facility to have them there. There's no need to.
So let me ask you this then, Coach. Do you think it's a Harbaugh thing? Do you think it's a Harbaugh thing that he high-profile guy, fresh from the NFL, coming into Michigan, trying to revitalize that program, shows up in the SEC country and the ACC as well, in the state of Florida? Do you think that's what brought this common practice to a halt?
In other words, because they've been going on for over 10 years, pretty seamlessly, no problems. Everybody happy. A lot of kids getting opportunities. So you're asking then, does the fact that Harbaugh with a little flash did some satellite camps, and did they get mad and say, all right, we don't like Jim Harbaugh, so we're going to shut him down? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. I hope not. I mean, are they really that sensitive? Do you think they're really that sensitive? Would they really be that paranoid and petty and say, okay, we're mad at Jim Harbaugh and we don't like him, or we don't like his tone of voice, and so now we're going to screw over all the student athletes that a ton of other schools would have the opportunity to see and recruit because Jim Harbaugh was mean to us and we didn't like what he said and he hurt our feelings, and somebody down there went and chalked Jim Harbaugh's name on the sidewalk, and our feelings are hurt and we live in fear, so please change the rule. And by the way, why don't we just call it the let's screw everybody out of recruiting rule? I mean, are you kidding me?
Well, I'm wondering what the SEC or ACC motivation is in the same way as well for your own backyard. You're clearly, Mike Leach, Washington State head coach, in favor of satellite camps, but the Pac-12 are one of the conferences that voted in favor of this proposal to ban it. Did they? Oh, I know. Did they poll you at all? Did they reach out to you and ask you your thoughts on the subject?
No, you bring up a very befuddling point. You bring up a really befuddling point, and there is some, and we're trying to uncover this, and I'm sure most of the Pac-12 is trying to uncover this. Okay, so the Pac-12 vote on satellite camps, the poll on satellite camps was 11 in favor. 11 in favor of satellite camps. 1 abstention. Now, how that unfolds into a vote against satellite camps, I can't imagine. I can't possibly imagine. I mean, it's unfathomable. Now, I don't know somehow the rule was written in a double negative and, and a mistake was made. I don't know. But, if 11 are in favor of something and then all of a sudden it's voted against, something's wrong. Could be an innocent mistake, but something's completely wrong. Mm-hmm. And because our room, when it comes to voting on it, the least I've seen is 8. And then I heard when it went forward, it's 11. 11 with one abstention, and then we come away as having voted against it. Well, and that needs to be changed, and our vote needs to be changed. It needs to reflect, the will of the schools in our conference.
So, last question for you, Coach. That essentially, is this a closed matter? What happens from here on out, for you and other coaches who want satellite camps to stay in existence?
Well, I think obviously, there's people that I think there's plenty of people that want to selfishly shut them down for their own selfish purposes to protect their recruiting areas, or worse yet, because they're lazy. They want to do all their stuff in the dark. They want it shrouded by darkness, secrecy, committee. Well, who did it? Well, them. Well, who's them? Well, we can't tell you who them is. They want it shrouded by secrecy. I think we need as much exposure to this as possible because, we are. Our biggest role is to help work and develop student athletes, and so. With that said, colleges should actively and diligently work to do that. So I think there needs to be a lot of exposure to this issue. And then the other thing is those schools in favor of satellite camps, which are most. Because if you go around a convention or anywhere, most are in favor of them. And then the other thing is no one can offer a reason against them. I've even tried to think of reasons against them. I can't even think of reasons.
Neither could I, other than
and I've even tried to, and I have a good imagination. Even more disturbing than this issue may be my imagination, and I can't even think of a reason against it. And so then, but now we're in in our case here at Washington State, we're trying to. Through the conference, we're trying to unfold and figure out what the heck happened with our vote. How did the Pac-12 vote end up the way it did?
Well, let's chat in a couple of weeks and revisit the issue. I'd love to have you back on, Coach. Okay.
Well, that sounds good. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, you bet. That's Mike Leach.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.